All right, we are now live. Let's go grab the YouTube link. All right, throw a chat up here. All right, tweeting this out now. All right, there we go. We'll go ahead and get started then. So, hello, welcome back to episode 7 of the Veganless Podcast. I'm Daniel, and I have Matt here from Rek Broadheads. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, Matt Taggett from Michigan here, co-founder of Rek Broadheads, and I love to bow hunt.
There we go. Love to hear it. So I always like to start off this with, do you have one piece of advice for a new hunter?
Ooh, one piece of advice. Man, that's a tough one. Maybe don't overhunt your spots, I guess. Don't I think when I first started hunting, I felt like you had to be out there every day to put the odds in your favor. The more time you could spend in the woods. But I mean, the more I've learned throughout the years, that it seems like your first hunt or 2 hunts into a spot are your best odds at getting the deer you're after. So probably play safe and stay out there until the conditions are right. Just don't overhunt.
There you go. I think that's a solid piece of advice. So moving forward a little bit, do you have any memorable hunts? Like, what's your favorite hunt that you've done?
Oh man, that's another hard one there, because every hunt's so great, but I think probably one that I will never forget, and probably the one that tops the cake, mostly because I was able to share it with my dad, but also just the quality of the deer that we were able to kill is it would have been in 2020, I believe. My dad drew an Iowa tag. We went out to Iowa and hunted this one deer all season, and finally killed him. And to be in the tree with my dad when we killed his largest buck to date, it was a 196-inch Iowa buck.
Oh, geez.
Man, it was just a really, really cool experience, and the largest I had ever seen on the hoof, at least that close. And to be there with my dad as he arrowed that deer was so cool.
There you go. And you're going to be making another Iowa appearance, aren't you?
I am hoping to draw my tag this year. I was down with Alex. He kind of helps us with the marketing and stuff. He drew his tag last year, so I ran a camera for him. I have four non-resident points going into the draw this year. So the zone I'm going for, I think that gives me about a 50% chance of getting the tag. So keep my fingers crossed going into it. I'd really like to be back there.
Is that zone 5? Do you remember?
I will be in zone 4 if I get
4. Okay.
5.
Okay. Yep.
5's getting pretty hard now. I think it's like 5.
Yep. Yep. I hunt zone 5, so I was just curious. I was trying to visualize where you're at, but yeah.
We're on the west side of I-35 there.
Yep. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, I'm from Iowa, so I thankfully don't have to deal with the lottery system like you do. I hunt southern Iowa, right there in zone 5, Appanoose County. So pretty blessed to be able to hunt that every year.
That's where the big ones are.
Right. So what's your kind of season look like? Are you just whitetail hunting? Do you do any traveling regularly, or just kind of how's your season go for you?
Yeah, I'm typically, just a whitetail nut. I love to travel around hunting whitetails. At some point, I'd really like to fit in like an elk or a moose hunt or something different, but I just haven't found the time for it. Being up here in Michigan, we don't really have a ton of big deer, so to go hunt big deer, we do have to do a lot of traveling. We have a lot of hunting opportunities, but I really have just kind of become addicted with hunting just really large caliber deer, and to do that, we've got to travel a lot. So. Yeah, we normally start our season in September. We go to the Dakotas. I've been doing that this will be the 9th year heading out there. And then from there, we kind of go back, kind of some Midwestern states for the rut, whether it be in Iowa tag or Missouri, something of that nature. So we really like the Iowa, Missouri area. And then the Dakotas is kind of what we hammer out every year.
So, yeah, how do you like the Dakotas? Because this year, I think I'm gunning to do a mule deer hunt there in South Dakota.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's I've never hunted mule deer there, but for whitetails anyway, it's a very different type of hunting that I'm used to. Growing up here in Michigan, we have a lot of big timber, and you go out there, and a lot of times there's not a tree in sight. And
prairie.
The deer are living in the cattail marshes, so it makes a very different hunt. But we're kind of over the last 8 years kind of getting them figured out. So it's a fun trip. I just like the fact that the season starts so early. You get out there, it's normally right around the 1st of September, so the Saturday closest to the first Saturday in September there. But to start early and be able to hunt velvet deer is really cool. And
yeah, that'd be cool. That would be pretty sweet, being able to velvet hunt. I got mine opening day, so it was cool. He still had velvet hanging off of him, but it'd be really cool to do a full velvet hunt at some point.
Yeah.
Where do you primarily go in the Dakotas?
So we go in eastern Dakota. Typically, we've got a friend out there that he's a farmer. He has a ton of ground out there, and we've over the years just became really good friends, and he lets us hunt his place every year, and we have the exclusive bow hunting rights to it. And so we get the run of a few thousand acres, and it's it's fun. It's one trip I look forward to every year.
Right. Let's see. Hello, chat. We have a hello from Luke, and then we have a Kansas is best hunting. Yeah, I mean, the Midwestern states are all pretty solid in their own rights.
Yeah.
So with you hunting all these different areas, do you have a primary method of hunting? Are you mainly a tree stand, saddle, spot and stalk, or kind of just depends?
Yeah, so mostly, tree stands. I try to be on a tree stand everywhere I go. I've tried the saddle thing, and I guess it just isn't quite for me. I like something a little more solid, but then again, I do like to be kind of mobile. I like to be able to move, so I like a really light tree stand. So right now we're running the Millennium, the micro light tree stands. We've got a pile of those, and I've really they have like the puck system on them where you can go hang the puck in the tree, and then you can kind of move the stands around and slide them. Kind of convenient, but in the Dakotas, I've learned to hunt off the ground quite a bit too. Where there's times when there's not a tree in sight, like I mentioned, so you're throwing up a ground blind, or you're literally brushing something into some weeds or little bushes or whatever you can find to be in the mix. So yeah, I mean, I guess in that aspect, I kind of do whatever it takes. But back in the Midwest, I really prefer to be in a tree stand or or something like that.
Do you have a sweet spot height wise? I know everyone has their own little like area where they like being like 15 to 20. Some people are crazy and want to go super high, or do you kind of just gauge off of the surroundings?
Yeah, I just kind of gauge the surroundings. It's all different for me personally. Spots where if I'm in some elevation, we've hunted southern Ohio quite a bit too, and the hills down there are huge. So if you've got a deer side hilling next to you, you like to get up maybe a little bit higher so you're not at eye level with the deer,
right?
Closer to that 30-foot range. But then I go to the Dakotas, and a lot of times the trees are so messed up that I'm literally hanging a stand 6 or 7 foot off the ground, and actually
Right.
my largest deer ever in North Dakota, 8 foot off the ground in a stand. So it's just whatever it takes to get in that exact location where you need
Right.
to be, whether that be
Mm-hmm.
8 foot off the ground or 30 foot off the ground, whatever it takes.
Right. No one size fits all.
Yeah, exactly.
So, with you traveling a lot for hunting, I know you said you have permission ground in the Dakotas, but do you primarily public hunt?
I
Do you
started
find,
off that way.
yeah?
I started off. I think I've been going out of state now for doing the traveling thing for probably 10 or 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of started with some buddies when we were in college. Just broke college kids, and we'd go hunt state land in Missouri and Ohio and travel around like that.
Mm-hmm.
And more times than not, just got our butts kicked. So then we kind of got into the leasing game where we'd lease some farms in Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
Iowa, and so we've done it all though. I mean, it's all
Mm-hmm.
fun. Learn so much from everything we do. I really, as much as I like hunting a fully managed, manicured farm with big bucks hitting
Mm-hmm.
a spot every day, I like going and sitting out in the middle of the forest somewhere where I don't have any history with deer or anything. I just
Right.
enjoy it all so much.
Whatever kind of happens. Yeah. Makes sense. Let's see. Luke asked, what guns do you guys hunt with? Do you do any rifle hunting, or do you mainly just stick with the bow?
I used to gun hunt quite a bit here in Michigan. The rifle hunting tradition is so strong. November 15th is our opener, and it's like literally. I mean, there's schools that get November 15th off from school because it's like a national holiday here in Michigan. So,
right.
I used to do a ton of gun hunting. I hunted with a muzzleloader a lot. I always like my muzzleloader because I live in a shotgun area down here, so we're in a shotgun zone. You can't use rifles until you get a little further north or west. But muzzleloader. But I haven't picked up a gun to hunt in probably 6 or 7 years now for deer. Owning a broadhead company, it's
right.
It's kind of my pride and joy is hunting with a bow now, and I just like getting up with them. So, there's times when I'll go out during firearm season and carry my bow with me just because I like close that much.
Yeah, I too have really enjoyed swapping and focusing more on archery. It's just, there's something special about having to get close and personal and outsmart the animal within, 50, 60, however many yards you're comfortable with. But, rifle, you can get a couple 100 yards, pop a shot, seal the deal, versus, like I said, getting close and personal. So.
Yeah, that's for some guys, pulling off those 300, 400, 500 yard shots is
can be impressive too. But
it is in its own way, and I have nothing against that. It's just for me, I like getting in that bubble.
I'm an adrenaline or like a thrill chaser, so I think it brings me so much joy with the getting up close, personal aspect and using a bow. I feel like there's definitely stuff that can go wrong with any form of hunting, but I feel like it's just added with archery, like, deflecting off of branches, just having to be more critical and precise with your shot, knowing your placement and how it's going to break and go off. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But I guess to answer that, I have a 350 Legend. We can use those in Iowa now, straight wall cartridges. I went out this last season, but I chose second season shotgun to go, and it was just a nightmare for me. I don't push. I like props, have fun if people enjoy that. I know it's a lot of long time traditions, but it's not the style for me. So I hunted, spot and stock or sit a ground and saddle hunted it. And it just didn't pan out for me with all the pressure. James says, all the traveling you do, how do you do your scenting of clothes when you show up to a place?
So I normally just have a tote that I keep all of my gear in, my hunting gear, and that's the only thing that goes in that tote. But I've got one of those little Ozonics units that not necessarily the one that sits in the tree with you, but the one that you just throw in your tote and you turn it on. And I've really become big on using that thing. I can literally throw a pair of nasty smelling boots in there and let them sit for 20 minutes, a half an hour with the ozone going, and they come out and they smell like a brand new boot. It's kind of crazy. So I'm a big advocate for the ozone. I don't know so much that they work. I've used them in a tree and I've had them what I thought worked, but I know for a fact that when you throw that thing in a tub with ozone, it's killing scent. It's really taking away a lot of that bacteria and stuff.
Right. I've heard a lot of people switching to ozone or getting the ozone closets or
Yep.
etc. And I've heard good reviews. I haven't personally tried one, but I mean, it makes sense, especially in that case where your use case is having it in a confined space. But again, with the trees themselves, I have no idea. Let's see. Double checking. All right. It looks like that's it for those questions for now. Feel free to ask at will. We'll answer live questions throughout this. So let's see. We talked about permission hunting, public hunting. With still doing leases and stuff, do you find yourself still e-scouting, or are these leases mostly like, here's a few blinds, sit here, you'll see something? Or
Yeah, so normally when we lease ground, we'll either go down and check it out before we make payment on it, or maybe it's a piece that we have kind of known about the area, or a piece or something like that. But so we kind of go down in the spring, kind of like shed season, and really scout these properties out. And you can tell a lot that time of year on how the deer travel when there's not leaves on. But then we get cameras going throughout the summer and stuff. Go down. Sometimes we'll do food plots on some of these farms. Get all the stands hung. So I like everything to be set and in place for opening day or whenever our first trip down there is. That way we can, cell cameras have really changed the game too, because being 10 hours from Iowa or Missouri, we're able to sit up here in Michigan and watch what's going on down there. And if we have a buck daylighting day after day, we can jump in the truck and go hunt them. But I really for us, it's big to keep the properties very low pressure, and just when the time's right and the deer are showing up, go down there and try to capitalize on it. But we try to have them all set before season. But I'm not opposed to staying mobile too, like we talked. If we go down and we get something all set up in the summer, but we get down there in the rut and there's like a pinch where you keep seeing a buck go through every day, we kind of adapt to that and tear your stuff down and move on them.
Right. Makes sense. Question. What is the highest scoring bucks you guys shot? That one came from Luke.
Well, you're the Iowa native, so we got to hear yours first.
So I have primarily just meat hunt most of my life and just swapped over to archery. So I wasn't really hunting rut and I was just mainly going for meat. So this past season on opening day, so I would say the first season actually chasing a buck, I shot a 142 and 4/8. I was after one that was quite a bit wider, and this one kept throwing me angles that was making me question which of the two it was, because frame-wise, they look very similar. And then I just kind of stopped myself. I'm like, this has you excited. Just don't be stupid. Take it. Yeah. And absolutely happy with it.
Yeah, my largest is that one I said I shot 8 foot off the ground. That was a 164 inch Dakota's buck. I've hunted a lot of really, really big ones, but that's the largest I've actually got an arrow into in land. So
yeah, I just started doing all the plot work and farm work this past year, and getting ready to get back to work. I think I'm going to make a trip down, depending on wind and weather, this weekend and try to get a big burn in before spring green up.
Yep.
And so fingers crossed. I think it's supposed to rain Friday, so I'm hoping it doesn't rain much and have everything too soaked. Let's see. All right, double checking. What do you think is the best food plots? Like what crop? Or are you just asking just an open-ended question there? I think it really depends what season you're hunting. There's different foods that are ideal for different times of the season and year. I think you really should look at what is surrounding the land that you're hunting. Like, are you surrounded by beans and corn already? Do you want to diversify? So I think as an all around, and again, this probably depends on what region you're in, but I think an all around good, solid choice is clover. It's something that stays and can be munched on around. But I mean, if you're wanting to specify seasons, you can't go wrong with like radishes, so different brassicas, turnips, all that.
Yeah, I think you literally read my mind there. That's definitely season dependent, but late season when
Mm-hmm.
there's snow on the ground, it's hard to beat standing soybeans. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I like radishes a lot. As more of an attractant. I guess they don't benefit the herd as much, but probably all around best food plot might be clover, just because it's something they hit the most throughout the season, and it benefits the herd the most as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think clover is just a great year round. It's easy to plant and easy to grow, you
Yeah.
just maintain it. Zoo says, is there specific broadhead tips you guys would suggest for new hunters, or does it come down to the style you prefer?
Yeah, I would. I would definitely say it's personal preference to a point. Depending on how new of a hunter you are, you might look into a fixed head just because it's a little simpler. There's really nothing. I mean, like our FX4 here is a 4 blade fixed head, but there's literally it's fail proof 100%. There's no moving parts on it. There's no screws, no pins, no nothing. Um, but the downfall of a fixed head is you get a little smaller cut, so
Mm-hmm.
your room for error is a little smaller. Now an expandable head, you get a little bigger cut. With any expandable, you always risk the chance of something going wrong. In our expandable heads, we try to take all of that out of the equation, but it's still a moving part at the end of the day. But then you do get that bigger cut. So if you hit them a little far back, you're getting a 2 inch gash through them versus maybe an inch and an eighth fixed head. So it's really personal preference and maybe your style of hunting that you're doing. What kind of poundage are you pulling? Are you pulling
Mm-hmm.
too low of a poundage for an expandable? There's a lot of variables there.
Yeah, I really agree with that too. I was going to say, with mechanical, you have a bigger cutting diameter, but there's other variables like you said, poundage, and then shoulder blades where you're hitting. Those things can impact the mechanical head from deploying. Like blades can break, so on. A fixed head obviously is just more sturdy and whatnot, but you have to be a little more precise with your shot. As basically just recapped exactly what you said, but that's kind of my views too with it. In an ag-rich area like Iowa, what is one food source deer can't pass up besides traditional row crops? So I think that kind of goes back to clover and brassicas, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that totally. And a lot of it depends on when you're trying to kill the deer too. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to, target something the first week or two of October, clover might be your friend. But if you're looking more of that late October, maybe they lean a little more towards the radishes and stuff or brassicas. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion.
Hammock says, what happens if you hunt in a place in mountains and lots of trees? What would you plant? Um, I have no experience with mountains, but I mean, first and foremost, if you're in a bunch of trees, you want to try to clear up and get light contact with the ground. That's going to be your biggest hurdle. And I would assume clover again would be a good choice. I mean, I would look at kind of what your area has and go from there too. All right, good on questions for now. So I want to hop back to you're traveling for hunts. Do you normally pick one state a year and travel to it, or do you have a few different hunts that you do?
It kind of depends on the year. I'd like to do like obviously our home state of Michigan, but then two
Mm-hmm.
is kind of a good year for me. I've tried to do 4 or even 5 states in 1 year, and
Mm-hmm.
it just gets to be too much.
Right.
So I 2 states plus, hunting our home state here,
Mm-hmm.
3 states really seems to work out good because we do that early season hunt out in the Dakotas, and then we do a rut hunt or a couple of different trips in October to around the Midwest, and then we just kind of slip out after work here in Michigan. We've got just a little property here to where we get done working for the day and we just slide out the back door and go hunt. So.
There we go. Yeah. I was curious because, like I said, I'm starting to look into traveling more too. And I was curious where you found your good balance was or your sweet spot. So, let's see. Do you have any like bucket list hunts or like just a bucket list of different animals? I know you mentioned elk and moose earlier.
Yeah. So I really, 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 and I don't have any plans for it at the moment, but I want to kill a brown bear with my bow and arrow. That's kind of like my number one.
Mm-hmm.
That and a Yukon moose. That's those are kind of the 2 that are on my radar. Don't know when I'll be able to get up to do that, but man, I think there's just nothing more man versus beast than going up against a brown bear with your bow and arrow.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. My bucket list, elk right now is top of it. I think it would be just thrilling to take an elk. I want to get a bear as well. Eventually a moose would be awesome too, but those are kind of my first 2. So
yeah, that's pretty much all the North American big game. Just to even get one of each, it would be awesome.
Have you hunted any black bears or anything? Or are you holding out for a brown? Or
I have. I took a black bear here in Michigan probably 6 years ago now, maybe somewhere in there. It was like a 100-pound black bear here. Shot him with my bow, so that was pretty cool. That was one of those things where it's like I got one, but I don't really have a huge urge to go get another. It was cool. I checked it off the list. Got a nice rub, and got to try bear meat and all that. So it was cool, but I don't necessarily. Maybe one.
Yeah, nothing you're craving to do again. Yeah, makes sense. Exactly. Makes sense. Let's see. Another question or statement. I have always heard that around Thanksgiving week is best for rut in Iowa. Is the best. What do you think from experience is a good week to hunt in the rut in Iowa?
I hear that some of the biggest bucks always get killed right there around Thanksgiving. If I had to pick one week to hunt Iowa, I would almost argue that I would go with maybe the last week of October.
I was thinking first week in November.
Yeah. To me, it seems like they're not. I mean, they're pushing some does around and stuff, but they're not in that full out like dog and does across the country. So I feel like that last week of October, they're pretty predictable. They're pounding scrapes. If you get a good cold front in there, I mean, you just they're pretty predictable. If you got one that you've been watching on camera, tearing up a scrape that last week of October with a cold front, and it can be lights out.
Right.
But then again, like I said, I've heard a lot of big ones killed around Thanksgiving too. So.
Yeah, I think really like if you have cams out, that's a big tool. You can kind of monitor activity, see what's daylighting, and kind of go from there. But also at the same time, use what time you have to hunt, because any which day out there could pay off too. Deer are going to be out there. Deer are going to deer. Like.
Yep, absolutely. It could happen any day of the season. It could happen literally when it's 85 degrees out in the middle of the October lull. It's just they're animals, and you're in their bedroom.
My buck last year was October 1st, and it was 90-some degrees.
That's crazy.
Like, yeah. And he came out. He even got bumped off of the plot and then came back out because when I went to grab my bow, there was like 9 or 10 does, and one of them busted me and snorted, and they all ran off, including the buck. And then he came back out. So anything can happen. I mean, you can try to pattern these animals as much as you want, but in the end, they have free will. They can choose to do whatever they want to do.
Yep.
So
That's what keeps it fun.
right. Lots of great questions though so far tonight. Absolutely love it. Keep them coming. So I want to hear a little bit more about your company too. You and your company, how'd you get started? So on.
Yeah. So my dad and I own the company. We're family owned. My dad has worked in manufacturing actually he just retired. He worked in manufacturing over 40 years. Now he's working full time with Rek here. But he had a huge background in manufacturing. I had worked just kind of freelanced a little bit for some companies in the industry, doing kind of some marketing stuff, videos. We had a channel where we filmed hunts and stuff for a while, and just really wanted to put our spin on the outdoor industry. Wanted to have a company within it, and kind of sat down and started looking at some options. And we're like, well, one problem we've always had was with the expandable broadhead. Being bow hunters, we've shot every broadhead under the sun. We shot a lot of good broadheads, and we shot a lot of broadheads that we had issues with, and we thought that we could, with my dad's manufacturing background and my marketing background, could put together a company and build a broadhead that we first and foremost trusted, and bring it to market. So in 2018, we started designing our first expandable head. Really, the goal was to just beef this thing up, make it hold up to bone and hard impacts, and make it literally fail-proof. So it took us 2 years to get that accomplished, and then in 2020, January 2020, we launched the company, and we had our expandable head, and then shortly thereafter, we launched our 2-blade fixed head, which has interchangeable blades in that. It's a modular ferrule. Then 2 years later, we launched our 4-blade fixed head, and then to this year, our new HXP expandable. So we've got 4 heads in the lineup now. Our second year, or third year, I guess, is when we started selling to retailers. Our first year was factory direct, first year and a half or so, factory direct. Man, things have just really taken off, and we're trying to build a product that we would want to buy as a consumer, something that we believe in, because we know how it is to wait all season for that one shot, or wait 2 years for that shot at that big buck. And the last thing you should have to worry about is doubting your equipment, so we want something that we believed in, something that was made here in the USA. A lot of pride in that. And man, it's been a ride. It's been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot, met a lot of great people, and we're excited for the future. We've got a lot of big things in the works.
Awesome to hear. So do you have any kind of, I guess, key points or takeaways from your products at what sets you apart from competitors? I am actually determining what broadheads I want to go for this year, so I'm interested in hearing.
Yeah, we when we first started looking at this on what kind of heads we wanted to design, the first thing we wanted to do was perfect the expandable broadhead, because there's good expandables on the market, but then there's also some that are really, really not good, and they're known for failure. They're known for not opening, or they're known for opening light. So we wanted to design an expandable that would not fail. I mean, we wanted to beef it up. We wanted thicker blades, a big beefy tip, and you'll see this is the head that I'm talking about here. This was our first expandable. That's XP broadhead, and the blades are 39 thousandths thick. So in the replaceable blade expandable category, that's pretty thick. It's got a big beefy chisel tip on that, and this is an expandable head that I can honestly say will bust through bone. I'm not saying it'll bust through a shoulder every time, but we get plenty of pictures where our expandable heads are busted through shoulders. So it's really just beefed up and made to hold up to hard impacts. It's got a 70-75 aluminum ferrule. It's super simple. It pretty much has to open when it hits something. It takes 3.8 pounds of force to deploy the blades. It's compound and crossbow rated. And then when we come up with the FX4 here, we had a lot of people asking for a good solid fixed head, and we kind of looked at some of the different designs, looked at a one piece, a replaceable blade versus non-replaceable, stuff like that, and we kind of decided that there's people out there that are good at sharpening broadheads, but I still don't feel they ever get back to that factory edge on a good head, a good sharp blade. So we went with a replaceable blade, and that's kind of across the the line. All of our heads are replaceable because, we want to make it easy to change those blades out and get right back to that factory edge. That's literally, razor sharp.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
a good sharp blade just cuts better, it aids with penetration, and yeah, I'm not sure where I was going with all that, but we really wanted to build quality products. We really wanted to hold up. And like I said, we're bow hunters, man. We live to bow hunt. We want stuff that we trust, and
Right.
we trust it, and we can stand behind it, and we'll put our name on it and bring it to market. But it takes a lot of testing for us to do that. So.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Good to hear. And then I think another big factor or another awesome point is you said it's US made and in father-son company. Do you guys have you guys expanded, or is it the two of you still running things, or?
Yeah, it's mostly the two of us, and then we have some help that comes in during the busy times and assemble and stuff like that. This year we did hire two sales rep groups, so we have 13 sales reps on the road right now every day. So that's been a big help. I've been able to focus more on the marketing side of things,
right? And growth.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, it's growing every year. Yeah, I think the big thing for us is still just getting our name out there.
Right.
Being the new guys, it takes a couple years to really
build trust is a big thing.
Yeah, that too. People start seeing the brand more and more. They build trust in it, and they hear reviews from people and stuff. So that just takes time. You can't necessarily buy that. That just takes time.
Yeah. You have to earn the trust and just exposure. Yep.
Exactly.
Then I would imagine your guys' season, it seems like a lot of the hunting season really ramps up right around the 4th of July for terms of people deciding, oh, season's coming up. Let's hop on and buy stuff.
Yeah, it really does. Right now is, I guess, the big buying season for retail shops and stuff. They're doing all their ordering right now for the season. Most of them, anyways. And but then our actual website, Factory Direct, still it doesn't really pick up until around that July 4th switch when everybody goes from, all right, deer season's coming, and then August and September, it's just it's a mad rush around here just to keep up. But it's yeah, broadheads are a funny thing because people only buy them so many months out of the year, but they it's busy.
And I guess a question, what's your weight on your broadheads, or do you offer them in different weights?
So right now we have every model in 100 and 125 grain.
Okay.
We've got some prototypes in heavier stuff. Actually, right here I've got our FX4 prototyped in 150 grain, all steel. We haven't put that to market yet, but we're kind of looking at some different options also for the guys that are looking to put a little more weight on the front of their arrow.
Yeah, we may have to talk after this because I need to get some broadheads for turkey season and then deer season. So we'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see. Double check. Everyone's quiet at the moment. Okay, making sure we're missing any questions. So let's see. We talked about some new hunter advice. We talked about traveling to hunt. Talked about bucket lists there. What's your toolkit look like on a hunt? What do you bring with you?
As far as like an actual toolkit, archery stuff.
Yeah, your gear that you take hunting.
Yeah, I try to keep it pretty simple, honestly. I used to be that guy that had a whole backpack full of stuff, and anymore I really just like to keep it simple and light, especially if I'm hiking back in a ways or something like that. I've always got to have my snacks with me. I got to have my water with me. That's huge. My binoculars are I don't take it if I don't have my binoculars with me. I've
agreed.
Glass and my range finder. I'm not great at telling ranges, so I always get in the tree and I like scoping things out and seeing what's what.
Pre-range and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know how it is in the heat of the moment when, especially in the rut, if a buck comes charging in and you don't always have time to range a spot.
Right.
I'm big on carrying that with me. And then, I film some of my hunts still, not as much as I used to, but and that's kind of one of the biggest reasons I quit doing self-filming is just because it's so much stuff you have to take with you. The camera arms, the GoPro.
Tell me about it.
All that stuff, and it's
Mm-hmm.
For me at least, it's really cool to look back on, but sometimes it kind of takes the fun out of it too, because it's just you're more focused on getting everything set up and getting the shots than you are just enjoying
Mm-hmm.
it. So
Yeah.
that adds a whole different element of gear you have to take with you, I suppose. But I try to keep it pretty simple: binoculars, bow, rangefinder,
Mm-hmm.
and just the basics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel you. I self film, and it is a lot of extra stuff. And I try to kind of lighten up the gear that I use otherwise to kind of make up for all the camera gear you have to pack along. You know,
Mhm.
camera arm, camera, mic, GoPro,
It's a lot.
etc. The list goes on. And yeah, but it's pros and cons too, because there's something about being able to relive your memories, pull it up, watch it again, that is pretty special.
Yeah, that stuff's priceless, and especially to look at, you know, just be able to look back at where you hit
Hmm.
deer when you
Yes, that
shot.
too.
That's a huge
Hmm.
tool.
Hmm. And I would assume you guys obviously do a lot of testing like that. You obviously use your own stuff when you're out hunting. And do you guys do a lot of other more rigorous testing, like trying to bust through things or?
Yeah, we've shot these things through just about anything you can imagine.
Yeah.
And we're gonna start launching some more videos this summer
Hmm.
on YouTube about kind of our testing process and stuff. But
Hmm.
I always say that I think the best testing you can actually do is in the field. In hunting scenarios.
Yeah.
It's cool to replicate all these things, shooting through plywood or steel, ballistic gel,
Hmm.
all that stuff. But there's nothing that's actually going to really replicate a hunting scenario like shooting a real animal.
Right. Right. James says, "Do you have a certain store that sells your product, or is it just a website you have?"
So at the moment, we have, I believe, right around 150 retail locations, and you can get on our website, Rek Broadheads. That's REK, rekbroadheads.com, and there's a dealer locator tool on there where you can go in and see actually what the closest store to your location is.
Awesome. Right. That looks good on questions there. Let's see. So, do you have any other hunting stories that you want to share? Like, it could be any of your hunts.
Um, Trying to think of a good one there. I guess this year was pretty cool. I took my girlfriend out to North Dakota for opening week.
Hmm.
Uh, she had never killed a buck before, wanted to get her first buck. We hunted for, I think, 10 days from opening day on, and had one really cool hunt where we had, at the time, he was full velvet. We figured he was maybe 160-inch deer.
Hmm.
Went up quite often. Needed I think it was an east wind to hunt that stand that he was showing up. So he was showing up all week in daylight. We just couldn't get in there to hunt him. Finally got the wind we needed. Went in there. Didn't have any stands hung because there was really no. It was all just kind of scrub brush
Hmm.
stuff. And got in there, and probably an hour and a half before sunset, he come charging in, and uh, he ended up. I was filming her hunt, and my camera was just peeking up over the brush a little bit, and the sun
Hmm.
was setting, and it was kind of. I think it was glaring on the lens of the camera, and he picked that up right away.
Oh
And for
no.
like 18 minutes or something, it was. He just kind of started doing the little head bobbing thing, looking at us,
Hmm.
and we're sitting in
Trying
this
to.
bush on the ground, and he ended up coming up within like 6 or 8 feet of us and like looking down at us, and she never got a shot on him anyways. So fast forward to late October, I went back out and to hunt. She did not go,
Hmm.
but I went back out and had been running cameras the whole time. He was still showing up a little bit on camera, that deer. I hunted for 2 weeks straight. Never saw a shooter buck until my last sit. A blizzard blew in,
Hmm.
snowing and blowing, and I that was the first buck I killed with the HXP, the new head for this year. Um,
Hmm.
I hit him with it right in the middle of that snowstorm. I hit him real low, kind of in the armpit. Uh,
Hmm.
he ran, I think, 550 yards straight through a cornfield.
Hmm.
Uh, Tracked him in a blizzard. Literally, it was snowing so bad you couldn't even see the blood trail. He was bleeding
Hmm.
really well, but it was covered with snow, so I had to
Yeah.
kick the snow away with my feet and everything just to find it. But he ran 550 yards. like I said, a bad shot, but yeah, I ended up getting them. So it was pretty cool, just because it was deer we had watched for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I had an experience with them in September, and then in October I finally got a shot at him. It wasn't quite as big as what we thought. He was still a really nice deer. He was 154-inch 10-pointer. So
Mm-hmm.
I was super happy with him. Just a real heavy deer. I think he had 6-inch bases on him. Real good deer, but it was just a cool experience to be able to watch him for 3 years like that, watch him grow up and
Right.
get an arrow in him. It was that was a fun season.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty cool story. That's one thing I like about cams and stuff too, is you can watch them year after year and watch them grow into what they are. I get
Yeah,
the aspect some people don't like running them because they want to be surprised what's out there or not be stuck waiting for one specific, but I think it's pretty cool being able to watch them, see what's going on at your place. Because I have a 2-hour drive to go to my farm, so that's obviously not terrible, but it's not something that's easy to just run there after work, and that's 4 hours of driving round trip. So being able to keep up while you're away is awesome.
yeah. I mean, running cameras and stuff too. It just kind of keeps you involved. And all
Mm-hmm.
I like to run cameras probably 8 to 9 months out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps you excited. It keeps you out in the field looking, scouting, and getting to know these.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
What's your kind of year look like? Are you out shed hunting now, or do you transition to scouting, or do you kind of do that during shed season? Or
Yeah, we try to tie that in with shed season. We don't do a ton of shed hunting here in Michigan just because I can count on one hand how many sheds I found in my
mm-hmm.
life here in Michigan. But we just got back from Iowa. We were out there for a handful of days, shed hunting with a friend and stuff, and we had a pretty good haul down there. So we try to get down there every spring, and that's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fun. And that's kind of when we do some of our scouting and stuff too, is in the spring. But then we'll transition into um, once probably like June, July, once the bucks start to really kind of get some more headgear on them,
Mm-hmm.
they'll look the cameras back out, and where legal, we'll run minerals and just kind of start getting
Mm-hmm.
to know some of these deer again, see who made it through the
There's some
season.
inventory.
Yeah, who made a big jump this year, kind of start building
Mm-hmm.
that hit list and getting amped up for the fall.
Mm-hmm. And what's your personal kind of standards? James actually asked, do you look more for 5 to 6 year old deer, or anything goes?
So it really depends on where I'm hunting. Here in Michigan, I like to hold out for a 3-year-old deer because in our area, the amount of deer that make it to 3 years old are very slim. So in a typical year, if I have 1 or 2 3-year-olds on camera, that's a good year. So I like to hold out for 3-year-olds here. In the Dakotas, I like to hold out for a 4-year-old or better. When we're going to Iowa, it's typically we're waiting for a 5-year-old.
Nice. And do you have like a certain standard rack wise or anything you go for, or do you kind of go off of if it gets me excited?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's Iowa. I think there's just a lot more opportunity in certain parts of the state to hunt true giant deer, and especially wait
Mm-hmm.
5-6 years for a tag like us non-residents have to. Like to really hold out for a good deer. Someone
Mm-hmm.
with a big rack on it. In the Dakotas, I would say I'm kind of starting to transition. I'm getting to the point now where I've got a lot of just really good deer on the wall, but not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of huge deer on the wall. So I'm getting a
Mm-hmm.
little picky, but right now I would say my standard for out of state is kind of holding off for a 150 or better.
Mm-hmm.
And then Iowa, I'd like to wait for something a little, that 160 or better range.
Mm-hmm.
Then here in Michigan, honestly, like a 125-inch buck is fair game. So,
Right. Do you have any favorite recipes with wild game?
man, honestly, nothing too crazy. I just like frying up steaks on the grill with some pepper and onions, and that's just kind of, I make a dish with just some rice and peppers, onions,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just kind of my go-to on it. I don't eat a ton of like venison burgers, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little more on the dry side than I prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Do a
Yeah,
lot of
I get that.
sausage and snack sticks and stuff like that.
Yep, have to, and jerky.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yep. There we go. Do you do any other hunting other than deer? And I know you mentioned you bear hunted.
Yeah, no, that's I do a little bit of turkey hunting. I don't
Hmm.
get crazy into it. Do a lot of fishing actually.
Hmm.
Here in actually right now we're right in the middle of our spring steelhead run.
Hmm.
They're large rainbow trout that they spend most of their life out in the Great Lakes, and then this time of
Hmm.
year they run up the rivers to spawn. So my girlfriend and I like fishing for those a lot. So we have some really great fishing opportunities in here in Michigan. So yeah, no, I just like I said, I'm a white, you know, 365 days a year thinking about whitetails,
Right.
and that's yeah. The other time I'm either working on the business or doing a little fishing. So.
There we go. I want to go ahead and give you the floor to say anything you want, self plug, any of that as we kind of come towards the end of the hour.
Yeah, well, no, man, I really appreciate you having me on and letting me talk. For one, just BS and hunting.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
always fun.
always.
And letting me talk a little bit about the company and stuff. If anyone's interested in finding our products, you can find us at rekbroadheads.com. You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. Yeah, I just really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk a bit.
Yeah, make sure you guys go out and follow them on socials too. And be sure to follow Veganless across all the platforms. So we do this in a live stream format. And then after the live stream, we will push this out to Spotify and all the podcast platforms in an audio format. So if you guys could on Spotify, leave us a 5-star to help kind of push us into that algorithm. Um, we have recently a new announcement in this past week. We have a film intern going into this season, Andrew Peterson. He's going to be coming out on hunts with us, filming, being featured on the channel and such. So
Nice,
that'll be exciting to get more spot and stock, over the shoulder, high adrenaline content flowing. So
very cool.
we will go ahead and call this to an end. If I don't see any other questions coming in, no. Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining us. Later, guys.